Good afternoon. I have 4 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I welcome students and their parents, staff. I think I'm on the wrong page. Mm, I have my soliloquy ready, but I don't think I printed it. Okay. So anyway, we welcome all of you to our Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, June 25th, 2024. Um, those of you who are in the building, we welcome you. And those of you who are joining us live stream, we welcome you as well. Please let the record show that we have Mr. Clark Hales, a board member that's on remote, and Rebecca Williams, our attorney, um, Pastor Russ, um, Mr. Edgerton, myself are present in the building for this meeting. Again, we thank you for all the work that you have put in this school year, and we're hoping you're getting a little bit of rest for the summer. I know we're still in June, but get a little bit of rest along the way. I like to say to our 2024 retirees and teachers and our principal of the year, and to everyone who was recognized at our May 30th retirement celebration, please accept our heartfelt apology. The board was not able to attend the celebration as we had planned. We were not able to move as swiftly as we had planned to through our agenda, and we could not attend your celebration. Please know that our lack of attendance in no way lessens the value that we place on the many years that you have devoted to the children, the education of the children in our schools. We thank you for everything that you have done to ensure that our students receive the best education available. Get some rest, enjoy your family and friends, and get ready for the phone call that you're probably going to receive in 6 months. For the Teachers of the Year and the Principal of the Year, we say congratulations. We know that you will represent the district well as you engage in this ambassador role this school year. We learn from our mistakes and vow not to repeat them. Thank you for understanding. We see you, we thank you, and we appreciate you for your hard work. That hard work surely doesn't go unnoticed. Now I would like to introduce our guest pastor for this afternoon. It is Father Brian Vaccaro, originally from Northern Virginia near Washington, D.C. He is the oldest of 7 children, and 2 of his brothers are priests. Before joining the Redemptorists, Father Brian had various jobs, including working as an editor and website developer, as a government contractor in the information technology field, and in the Privacy Office of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE, as a federal employee. He has been involved in several different volunteer ministries. While he was involved in volunteer work, over time, he began to feel that God was calling him for something more, to be a priest and to become a Redemptorist. He joined the Redemptorists in 2014. After graduating from the Oblate School of Technology in 2021, he did his pastoral experience in Tucson, Arizona. He also served as a deacon in Veracruz, Mexico, and as a priest at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church, also in Mexico. Father Brian is now assigned as a pastor of Immaculate Conception Parish in Clinton, North Carolina. Please help me welcome Father Brian Vaccaro. Thank you for joining us.
So good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to come and start this meeting with a prayer. So let us bow our heads in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good and gracious God, thank you for all of the blessings that you have given us in our life. You know how much you love us, you care for us, you protect us. Please bless during these summer months the teachers, the students, and the staff of our schools. Help them to be able to use this time to rest and to be rejuvenated. Please bless this meeting, all those present. Help us to be present to each other, to listen to each other, to speak to each other, and to work together so that we can address the issues that will be brought up and better serve the community the students, the staff that make up the schools here in this area. Please open our hearts, please open our minds, fill us with your wisdom, fill us with your grace, and help us to grow closer to you. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Brian. He has another appointment at 5 o'clock, but he did say he was going to stay a little bit of time with us to see how this goes. He's never been to a board meeting before.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I will begin with a roll call. Please answer as I call your name. Board members and attorney, Mr. Jeremy Edgerton,
Present.
Pastor Russ Emanuel,
Present.
Mr. Clark Hales.
Present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Oscar Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez is in a conference. He's trying to log in a few minutes, I hope. Ms. Carol Worley is at work and she will be joining us shortly. Attorney Rebecca Williams.
Present.
Thank you. Superintendent and staff, Dr. Wesley Johnson.
Present.
Ms. Emily Devane.
Present.
Mr. John Lowe.
Present.
Dr. Malinas is not with us today. Ms. Sheila Peterson.
Present.
Dr. William Van.
Present.
Ms. Nicole Hayes. Please stand and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all.
It's Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, and I officially call today's meeting of the Clinton City Schools Board of Education to order. Our first item on the agenda is public comments. And at this time, we have no one who is registered for the public comment section. So we'll move on to the second item, which is approval of board agenda. Board members, you've had an opportunity to review the agenda, and I ask for a motion to accept the agenda as written.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Edgerton. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second. Second. I think I heard Pastor Russ first. All in favor, let it be known by the word aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposers have the same right. Board members, there's been a change in the consent agenda. We're moving item K to closed session. Item K from consent agenda to closed session. You have had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item K.
Make that motion, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Pastor Emanuel. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Edgerton. All in favor, let it be known by the word aye. Aye. Opposers have the same right. Motion carried. Thank you. We have moved item K to the closed session. Next session is curriculum and instruction by Dr. Malinas. Do you have anything to share for her? All right. I'll turn it over to Dr. Johnson to do curriculum instruction for Dr. Malinas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for everyone who is attending our meeting tonight. I do see that we have one or two of our principals here, as well as one of our administrative interns and our pastor. So thank you all for taking this time out on this wonderful afternoon, summer afternoon, to be with us. Avid, last week we actually left on Father's Day. I have a little message on my about this too, but we were in Orlando from most of it was a drive on the 16th, but we stayed until the 19th. We had 29 Clinton City Schools employees who attended the Avid Summer Institute. We spent a lot of time. The afternoons were spent in site teams. And when I say the afternoons were spent, everyone was there. They all sat in the room. We all had a wonderful time of planning for how Avid implementation will occur. at both schools. We will be full-scale Avid schools at Sunset and Sampson Middle School in the 2024-25 school year. Those plans are going to align with the school improvement plans and support the inclusion of equity and continuous improvement. Very, very good meetings. Everyone was very attentive. The leaders did a great job of keeping our teachers and their plans moving forward. And so when you're doing your site plans, that's just people from your place. We had all of our teachers from Sunset, not all, but many of our teachers from Sunset, many of our teachers from Sampson Middle, and then they were led by Dr. Carroll and Ms. Boykin at Sunset, and then led by Dr. Faison and Mr. Lanier and Dr. Harding at the middle school. And again, we had individuals who attended the following sessions. You can see the sessions up there. I'm not going to read all of those, but great, great times of work and collaborative planning. Super excited about the work that was done, and we got done about 5 o'clock each evening, and then they had the afternoon if they wanted to go to downtown Disney or whatever. We just stayed on site, the administrative team, and just had dinner. But it was very, very good conference, and we're looking forward to continuing to roll forward with those conferences in the future and having more and more of our teachers. So the plan is after several years, you will have all of your teachers who have attended the Avid Summer Institute, and they will have all the skills that they need to be successful in manning and running the Avid program. But we will again be Avid across the board, grades 3 through 8 next year. So super, super excited about that. Any questions about Avid?
Is secondary, we have ELA secondary and math secondary, are they considering middle school as secondary?
It's not like a 6-12, yes, ma'am. And so a lot of the skills that they talk about, I just completely lost my train of thought, but so Avid has they have it's an acronym, and it stands for that's where I was trying to go, Dr. B. And they have different letters mean different things. So the first is writing, and then they have organization, and so there's an Avid acronym. Yeah, and that's what Avid stands for, John. Yes, it starts with a W. I can't remember what it is. But each component. Wicker. Thank you. And so each component of Wicker stands for a certain backdrop of what Avid is about. And so writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and I'm forgetting the R. Reading.
There you go.
And so, thank you, John. And yeah. Yeah, everybody's good. And so through these components, you work, you build one of the big things in Avid, and kind of where we're going with it at first is the whole O piece. So John's on the O piece, and O talks about organization. So you're really working with students to understand the importance of having an Avid notebook, having an Avid agenda where you keep your assignments. Assignments are sent home to parents in your notebook, in your agenda. It's not just put if y'all saw the way I unfolded my notebook when I got here and I was just taking stuff out. I mean, I have a method to my madness, but with this, it's binders, it's planners, everything's in there. It's in one big notebook. It's all organized, and you're teaching these study skills and these organizational skills. And that's kind of where we're going with Avid this first year. Of course, we're infusing a lot of collaborative groups and a lot of assignments. John and I, and the ones that have been around for a while, we can remember when we did our Cognia accreditation, there were some concerns about inquiry and collaboration. And so these are some of the things that we're going to talk with our teachers and some of the training that they received on how to make more effective lessons where it's not just as much sit and get, but it's more about inquiry. One of the things that when you go to Avid is and you're participating in those morning sessions, you're getting all that. You're reading an article, you're having a Socratic seminar, they're teaching you all the different strategies of those collaborative assignments. You do things like quick writing. They go over their note-taking strategy, which is kind of morphed since the last time I went to Avid. They used to only do one type of notes, Cornell notes, and now they're more, they're looking at different varieties of note-taking, and they just teach what good note-taking strategies look like. So it's really good. Really excited about us moving to Avid. You know, we had 2 different grade levels that were doing it last year, but when you've got 4th and when you've got 7th, you really don't have it across the whole span of grades, and you really just can't see the full implementation. So to have it at 2 full schools next year, we're super excited about that, and looking forward to the gains that we're going to have at both schools through the Avid initiative. Wicker, thank you both. Thank you everyone who helped me with that. I got it all but the R after somebody brought it up, what Wicker was. Student retention numbers. So I wanted to share this with you. When I first got to Clinton City, these numbers were probably quadruple the amount. And, you know, we have had the opportunity to share and talk with our teachers, our administrators, and we now know that the work that we're trying to do is to help our students to matriculate and gain the knowledge that they need to be successful in career and college. And not that we're not going to retain students, but our principals understand the research, and our principal at LCK, for instance, he was a secondary science guy. So he understands that the more students that you retain, the percentage greatly enhances for their potential dropout. And so I'm happy to report that across the whole entire K-8 grade span, we had 20 retentions. 11 at kindergarten, 3 at 1st grade, 2 at 2nd grade, 1 at 3rd grade, 1 at 4th grade, 0 at 5th grade, 1 at 6th, 2 at 7th, and 0 at 8th. So we're going to continue to make the strides and continue to work with those students that are retained. And so our principals, they use a team, and so they use teachers, and usually use the grade level above to come down and see it as the retention committee, to make sure that the students that are retained, basically that those are the ones that have to be retained for whatever reasons, whatever purposes. But then we know that we have to put strategies in place so that those same kids don't just sit through another year and just receive the same regurgitation that they were unsuccessful with the first year. So again, super excited that those numbers are continuing to dwindle, and that we'll continue to make strides on getting those where we need to get them. So those are our retention numbers for the 2023-24 school year. Questions?
Yes, sir. On the retention, what's the borderline? Where do you say this one stays, this one goes on? Is there a grade? Is there an average? Is this, well, he just isn't good at taking tests, but he's getting information? Is it classwork is okay, but then test in the grade, they bombed? Where's the defining line that says Wesley can go and Jeremy can't?
That's a good question. And so a lot of the input is left on the teacher that's with the students for 176 days or 180 days. But now Principal Dirks is one of our best data guys. So Principal Dirks knows on DIBELS and on M-Class what those students need to be sitting at, but that's not the only cut score, or the EOG is not the only cut score. We also look at attendance. We look at the grades in the classes that they were making throughout the 186 days or 176 days or whatever. And then, like I was saying, there's usually a retention committee. I know that Principal Dirks uses a retention committee. So he'll have teachers at the 1st grade level that will come down and serve as like panelists
See how much that student knows.
They don't really talk to the student, they talk to the teacher.
Okay.
And then, you know, they'll say, okay, well, this student is sitting at a 275 Dibbles, and they really need to be at this level to be successful in the first grade. Greg, you want to share some comment?
I just want to make sure by the time, you know, the numbers is dropping, which is good. I just want to make sure that the numbers won't dropping, and then when the children graduate high school, you know, that they can't balance their checkbook, you know, they can't count money. And I just want to make sure that we were.
Yeah, we're taking that whole piece in the closet.
Mr. Dirks, I guess Dr. J can answer this as well. Is there any summer readiness for them to help them, those, I'll say 11 in kindergarten? Are we doing anything for them during the summer to make sure they don't slide backwards? And
Working in July. And
And I want to go back to something that Principal Dirks noted. He noted birth year and age and why that is important. And he did a great job of explaining that. But it's also important to remember that compulsory attendance laws don't start till age 7, and that kindergarten is not even really required. It's been part of schooling for years, but you're not required to go to school until you're 7. What I meant by retention numbers, so I can tell you in the first year I came here, I went and met with a principal, and that principal told me that individual was retaining over 40 kindergartners. Well, why is that important? Well, 40 kindergartners is 3 teaching positions. So, I mean, think about the numbers of teachers. 11 kindergarten teachers 11 kindergarten students is almost a full teaching position. You're getting real close. One of the reasons why I think these numbers have come down drastically, and I want to make sure I plug this, is because of the impact and the emphasis that we have placed on pre-K. And we've expanded our pre-K programs over the years. And now we have more and more and more students in our pre-K program. So when they go to LCK, the vast majority of them, probably 65% of them, have had not just kindergarten, but they've had kindergarten and pre-K. And so they're not just coming to Greg and they're just kindergarten 1 year and we're just moving them on, but they've been there for 2 years. And we're doing a whole lot more. And that's really, like, in my 26 years of being in education, like, the role, like, I've seen pre-K expand, but what we're teaching these kids is being pushed down lower and lower and lower. And there's a whole lot more expectations on what kids have to know and when they have to know it by certain ages. And so there's a lot that is taught at our pre-K and kindergarten levels. And where Greg was going with that when he said that earlier was, you get kids, and this happened with my oldest child who just graduated. I share this story all the time, but we put her at a home daycare, and there was no better place for her to be. She was loved, she was looked after, but when she went to school, her first official day in kindergarten was her first official day in school ever. And she had some speech issues, and she was speech delayed. Number one, because she was the oldest child, she wasn't around people, other children that talked and could speak. But when these kids go to pre-K, you know, they're in the pre-K program for, they don't go up the full year. Instead of 176 days, it might be 155.
Communicating with each other.
But they were communicating. One of the big aspects of pre-K is like play. And Greg knows all these terms, and so does Dr. B. Exploration, and they're exploring and having communication, and it's just really about learning, you know, how to do school.
And usually the second or third, or in Clark's case, right on down to the fifth. But usually the second or third child catches on stuff faster than the first one, because the first one had mainly adult interaction with mom and daddy, where the second one has got older sibling to catch up and learn from.
So yeah, so that's what
It's the same thing.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure that we're not lowering any expectations. If we're doing anything, we're increasing the expectations that are on these kids. But the numbers of retentions are vastly lower, I think, because of pre-K and the work that's being done there, which we're even expanding pre-K even more next year by taking in additional slots to make pre-K available to some individuals that it has not been in the past. So super excited about all the work that's going on. Greg, you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, we're starting to.
Partnership sponsors 117.
Right,
We-
117.
yep. So with the first, second, third grade, they're not that many, fourth grade, would they be eligible to go to attend the Read to Achieve at Sunset, or is that not for those children?
Changes every year based on DPI standards. At times it has been first, second, and third. At times it's been first and second only. I think last year it was more first only. So I don't know this year, but it changes. But yes, those individuals do have the opportunity to attend a Read to Achieve, where they, receive that extra help. And that's pretty much the entire month of July. It's 3 weeks in July. It's getting ready to start. It'll start the 8th, and I think it goes to the 28th. They get a lot of ELA reading instruction during those weeks. And I think we were kind of mentioning, Greg kind of mentioned about the ESSER funding when we did that Jumpstart program. That's what we called it. The Read to Achieve is an opportunity for those kids to jumpstart and be ready. Because we all do know, we know that there is some summer slide. You try to minimize that as much as you can. But there is some, but now when we do the summer, most of those kids, I'm sure, probably attended summer school or reteach and retry. And that gave them 2 more, well, depends on if they didn't pass English or math, some probably science, maybe some all 3, then they can still go to school for 2 extra weeks and then do that Read to Achieve. So trying to minimize that summer slide. That's actually a good point, Dr. B. Moving right along, Parents' Bill of Rights. This is actually a part of our discussion at Avid too.
Dr. J,
Yes, sir.
sorry to chime in late. Just a brief question. The retention numbers have gone down, and that's great to see. How much of that, or did y'all track, maybe how much of that was due to some of those intervention jobs being available post-pandemic? And if so, how are we kind of going to account for that moving forward, given those dollars aren't available anymore?
It's a great question. Great question, Mr. Hales. And so do I think it had a direct correlation? Absolutely. Was it tracked? I don't know how we would track it, but I can tell you that we looked at those interventionists and the growth that they were able to get with our students that were pulled out for extra instruction and extra help during those blocks. And there were some significant growth that was achieved by those teachers that was doing that fine work. And so I would answer the question that you asked with the importance of the MTSS process and the importance of the intervention, the I&E block. And so we have to ensure that our teachers are holding their PLC meetings, and that during the PLC meetings, yes, they're going to be planning, they're going to be talking about instruction, but they also need to be talking about individual students and conversations about growing those students. And so we'll be using a lot of M-CLASS. We'll be looking at the DIBELS assessments, the iReady math assessments to kind of gauge where those students are, and following those students and tracking them through that MTSS process will be kind of how it morphs as the ESSER money runs out and we kind of move those interventionist positions back into the classrooms.
Thank you.
And the AVID will help some as well, won't it? At least at Butler and Sunset and the middle school, those AVID strategies that you just described earlier will help some with that gap that we may be experiencing.
Yeah, I would definitely say so, Dr. B. So AVID again is kind of is intervention based in nature, and it kind of targets the middle of the road child, kind of that child maybe average, you would say, not the A student, not the student that's maybe a tier 3 student, but more of that tier 2 student that has goals to go to college, maybe first generation college, that needs some extra supports and extra guidance. And so absolutely. And by you're teaching those study habits, you're teaching those organizational habits, you're teaching those teachers inquiry and collaborative methods and assignments, that they expand, and it gets the student hopefully more geared to understanding. It's a lot of rigor. I think that was the word that was used earlier, instead of just more sit and get kind of things. Parents' Bill of Rights, as I was noting, excuse me, We have been working on the Parents' Bill of Rights. You know, this was a law that was adopted during the last, the long session last summer. And we have our new Parents' Guide to Student Achievement that's been added to the website. We've actually had to do an assignment, or we were working on an assignment yesterday in cabinet, and I've got to complete that assignment today or tomorrow so that we can get the DPI. But as I was saying, Florida has a very similar law, but basically, again, this gives parents rights basically to ask information and to receive information about the types of curriculum and the types of learning objectives that their students are being provided in the classrooms, and provides more transparency. So John's got it pulled up here, and if John has not, he will be adding this to our website in the next day or two, so that we can make sure that we're in compliance with the law. There was some interpretation guidance, I guess, or differences. Some people interpreted, because it actually, when the law came out, then they did. John's going to have to help me on the terminology. When you come back later and change, clarify the law, but then it was to be the first day of school. A lot of people interpreted that to be the first day in January, but then other attorneys said that it was the first day of the 24-25 school year. And that's the kind of the way that we interpreted it in Clinton City School, because there's only one first day of school. There's not a first day of school in January. There's a first day of school. It's the first day of school. And so that was the way we interpret it. So we're moving forward. Now, we put the things online that we needed to put online. We made the correspondences. But for us, technically, Parents' Bill of Rights starts the first day of school year 2024-25. But we try to be transparent in all of our information. Y'all know that's a word I constantly use, is transparency. So we try to make ourselves available. We had to fill out a recent survey. We worked on it yesterday about how many, y'all remember the questions that were in the cabinet. How many requests have you, and all of our numbers were 0. So we've not had a lot of requests about the Parents' Bills of Rights, or the curriculums, or the objectives, but we are, following suit and following the guidelines, and we have this information readily available. Cabinet members, anything else to add about that?
And Dr. J, it is posted. I posted it late yesterday on our existing Parents' Bill of Rights that defines more generally for the average person, instead of reading the legislation, what is included in the legislation, which we've had up for months, but I added the Guide to Student Achievement right there on that same page. So it's posted and public.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. And you guys adopted several policies. I don't remember the date on that. Do you, Mr. October, about the new Parents' Bill of Rights? So again, again, that's just a word that we try to talk about, is transparency, and we try to use that word a lot. So it's there. Parents, anybody listening, if you have questions about what's being taught to your kids, what's being taught in the curriculums, please let me know. Not only am I the superintendent, but my wife's an educator. We did have 3 kids that went to this system. One just recently graduated, so now we have 2. And we don't want anything. We don't want there to be any questions that you have, or areas that you feel like that are dark areas that you don't know information. So just reach out to us, reach out to the principal. We'll be happy to assist you with getting the information that you need. AIG is the next topic. And so I'm just going to read some of this. So DPI recommends the use of the existing definition to be adopted as the statewide definition. This is kind of new. And so the definition that is in general statute is this right here that John's kind of pointing at. Academically and or intellectually gifted students are defined as students who perform or show the potential to perform at substantially high levels of accomplishment when compared with others of their age, experience, or environment. Secondly, exhibit high performance capability in intellectual areas, specific academic fields, or in both the intellectual areas and specific academic fields, and require differentiated educational services beyond those ordinarily provided by the regular educational program. Outstanding abilities are present in students from all cultural groups, across economic strata, and in all areas of human endeavor. And so a DPI adopted definition may change some requirements of our plan. This is a renewal year. So as we roll forward, we're going to look back at our current plan, look back at those not new adopted definitions, but the requirement now that our plan follows those definitions, and make sure that we're following that to the extent and full letter of the law. So just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you about our AIG. So we're excited about that change, and we'll be working to make that. Currently, we have a 2022 to 2025 plan, and we'll be making the modifications throughout this year for the 2025 through 28 plan.
So would the board have to approve the adopted plan? And if so, do you know when it's due?
It'll be due in June, and we've done that a couple of different ways. Initially, we had the board to approve that. I don't think that was we did that. I think we just presented it as an information only item before the 2022 school year. I'm open to whatever. I mean, you guys will receive the information. We'll share it with you. If you guys want to adopt it, then yeah, that'll be fine. We've done it both ways.
Yeah, I was just wondering if DPIs don't require board approval since they have updated the definition of AIG.
They could, yeah. This next is a little, I'm gonna say cumbersome, I guess, but this is the way that curriculums now work. And so I don't even like that word because DPI doesn't like the word curriculum. DPI likes the word standards. So let's use the word standards. Let's use the word standards revision. So as a district, we select the curriculum and what the curriculum is going to be taught to our students, and the state sets the standards or the objectives, let's say. So the way that works, and this is for the current 2024-25 year, there is a review year for mathematics and computer science. There is a revision year for English language arts. There's an installation phase where the changes have already taken place, but nothing's being pushed down yet. We're kind of just in a wait and see model. And then there is the initial implementation phase, which is year one. So last year we were in installation for science. This year we adopted science. So last year we had new standards for science, but all the EOGs and all of that and all the tests were on the old standards. This year the new standards will change. The field tested items were included in the previous science EOGs, and then they become active questions for this next year. For the 24-25 school year, that wait and see is the installation phase, and you've got all the new healthful living standards, all the new standards in art, all the new standards in world language, and student success, which actually is school counseling. Revision means you're going through the process of having teachers go to DPI, do Zoom calls, they meet, they talk about the standards, and they actually revise the standards during that year. So that was a whole lot to kind of share with you the difference between a review, a revision, an installation, and an initial implementation phase. Then we were all laughing about this the other day in the cabinet meeting. That's why I'm kind of smiling and chuckling. Then they released the 10-year standards timeline. And me and John looked at each other and we're like, wow, this thing goes to like 2034. And I guess it will be. But these are the review, revision, installation, and initial implementation years for the next 10 years. So you can look and see, DPI likes to have a 5-year rotation. It doesn't always work out like that, but that's what they like to do. And you're supposed to be reviewing the standards about every 5 years, but we had the same science standards forever. This is the next 10 years. And so Teresa, this just came out. Teresa had a meeting last Friday, chief academic officers this past Friday, and this just came out at that chief academic officers meeting. So we just wanted to make sure you, I keep saying you guys, but our board understood the difference between review, revision, installation, initial implementation, and you could see those for the next 10 years.
So what's new for 24, 25? Science?
So science will have, so the standards were actually new. Last year, they weren't taught. That's odd to me. But science is in initial implementation. So our teachers will be teaching the new standards in science for 24, 25. Yes, ma'am.
New test at the
New
end?
test at the end.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. The standards existed last year, and I think we were supposed to be making students aware of the new standards. But if I was a science teacher, I'm going to teach the standards that the kids are going to be assessed on. Let's just be honest.
Right.
And so the new test and the new standards go into initial implementation this school year. Correct. That probably doesn't make any sense because it don't make a lot of sense to me, and I've been doing this for 26 years. But the difference between installation, initial implementation. Installation means everything's been refined. The standards have all been changed. We're just giving you a year to like look at them, research them, know what's coming, and all that kind of stuff. And those are healthful living, arts, world language, and student success. Technically, they are the new standards for 24, 25, but they won't roll into initial implementation until next year. If that makes sense. And that was all Dr. Molinas had to present tonight.
All righty. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Any questions of Dr. Johnson of Dr. Molinas' items? If not, we'll move on to Mr. Lowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have just a few items from technology and facilities, just some general information. And as usual, I'm highlighting anything that changed. We've not yet heard back from the DHIC visit that visited the College Street site for if they have any interest in developing that property. They did tell us it would likely be the end of June, which is right here, but we've not heard anything back from them yet. We do have access for Cheryl Kimbrough and myself to the production site of Infinite Campus. We received that on June 18th. We also have what they call a sandbox site, so we can play and make changes, make sure we know what we're doing before we do it in the live production site. We've got some data cleanup to do. We've got all the external platforms to connect to, like, we connect to Clever and we connect to Destiny, and we, pull student data from the authoritative source, which is the student information system, into where we create their local student account. So all of those connections have to be completed, and we're working diligently on that to make that work. Required by board policy is to share with the board annually the report on facility use, and that is linked in the document, and you can see all the facility use that was scheduled and generated revenue and the amount in that. So that is available for you to view and have information for. And then under capital projects, actually, I need to change that date at some point because it didn't begin on June 20th. We had hoped Legion Asphalt was involved with a DOT paving project, and it got delayed. They made them change from daytime work to nighttime work, and that shifted and made it last longer. But they have since, they did begin this week at Butler, and they've started some grading and the processing of both the teacher parking lot and the front parking. So that has begun at Butler. Summer painting that principals chose what was being painted is complete at LC Carr, and kid painting has started at CHS. Pressure washing was contracted to 2 different vendors because some had better pricings for some pieces of the project than the other. It's not yet been scheduled, but one of the vendors reached out and wants to start this Friday at Butler Avenue. So that will be underway very soon. And then Esser's HVAC renovations. The renovation at LC Carr is moving along. Dr. Johnson got a tour with Principal Dirks the other day and saw the extent of that renovation. And if you ask him, he's got a lot of pictures he can share, but pretty much they're taking out ceilings in nearly every classroom and doing wall penetrations, adding new duct work. But it's moving along. We have some major electrical work in the 200 building to replace an entire panel, because that panel that was put in when that building was built in the 90s does not have a main shutoff. Well, current code says you must have a main shutoff, and so we're replacing that panel. That's going to have to be scheduled with Duke because it's fed out of their transformer that is currently scheduled for July 9. Principal Dirks is aware. Butler Avenue, we're still waiting for final commissioning and project closeout. I just reached out to our partner with Pointer and Sproul today to maybe get some impetus on them finalizing that project. I have worked and worked and worked to try to close it out, and I think we'll have to involve Attorney McPherson to get some forward motion on that, because it's got to be closed. They've been in liquidated damages since August 11th of last year. So they're losing money every day. Last meeting, Mr. Edgerton asked about our solar PV, and the reporting system was having some glitches. It's been repaired now. So I grabbed an output from June 14th, and you can see when school is not in session in the summer on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the green is showing production from the solar systems, and the red and blue are showing, red is total consumption of the building and blue is self-consumption, meaning what it produces, it's getting consumed. So you can see Friday, Saturday, and Sunday get a lot of production and very little usage. So that's being fed back into Duke's grid, and we get a 1-for-1 credit on our bill for that. And then you can see even Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, especially midday, where production in the summer exceeds all the consumption. So that's a good sign that that's continuing to operate and generate some cost savings there. That's all I have for tonight's meeting. Any questions?
The facility use.
Yes.
I don't know if that's Dr. Johnson or Mr. Lowe, but I want to ask you, since you brought up the money a while ago. When somebody rents out a field, football, baseball, softball, can we put some wordage in or get something squared away so that we can at least let the coaches in on what's going on with the facility that they kind of maintain and take care of?
Yeah, currently the procedures are that it goes to the principal for approval, and generally principals coordinate, because they've also got to determine if there's custodial coverage for the event, because that has to happen in most cases when it's inside a building. If it's going to involve the cafeteria, they've got to check to make sure cafeteria personnel are available. So we can just add that to procedures, that if it involves fields, athletic fields, that the principal needs to confirm with coaches who are involved in the activity that involves that field, that they need to check with them before approving. We can do that.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe.
Thank you.
That was going to be a question I had too.
Yep, that that shouldn't require, it's not a board policy, so it's just a procedural change, so we can add that.
All right, any other questions of Mr. Lowe? If not, we'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Dr. Van?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, other members of the board. Excuse me. I have 3 quick info items for you. The first item, we recently celebrated our Native Americans with Sampson County Schools at the Cohary Center. We had our Cohary Center graduation for all of our Native American students. I think it went real well. Excuse me. Pastor Russ was in attendance along with Ms. Sheila Peterson and myself. I think we all enjoyed the celebration, and I know our students truly enjoyed being recognized. Graduation Alliance. The update on that is that Graduation Alliance is still continuing to work with our students. They began work with our chronically absent students, the students who were not attending school, the students who were at risk of not attending school. We sent in that list to them. They have begun work and will continue to work with our students over the summer just to make sure that they're talking about strategies and techniques that they can put in place along with helping the parents to be sure that the students are coming to school. If we can get them in the building, then we can educate them. Our Indian education, Native American budget, we are planning for our National Indian Education Conference. We are going to send a group to that conference. It is in October. Sooner than later, next week, we are interviewing for our Indian Ed position. We will have someone in place prior to the start of next school year. We are excited about that, just to be sure that we can continue to put in good work towards our Indian Ed education program and our Native American students, just trying to make sure that they get everything that they need in order to be successful as well. What questions do you have for me?
Questions from the board for Dr. Van?
Anything I'm missing, Pastor Russ? Want me to include? Okay.
I have one. How is Graduation Alliance funded? Did it used to be ESSER's?
No. Graduation Alliance was funded with a one-time grant. So the grant was for missing students. Basically, DPI gave us, I think it was around $20,000, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, around $20,000. And it only could be spent on missing students or finding students. So what a lot of companies did were actually start a business to find missing students. So Graduation Alliance was the only company that we could find within our region. Matter of fact, Dr. Brunson helped us with that. She reached out to a neighboring county and colleague to help us with Graduation Alliance. So that is not a reoccurring fund, but we still have funds in that account to help us with our students.
What's the success rate of them? Are they finding the students and getting them back in school? About how many are they finding? What
I haven't
percent?
got a report yet, but I will ask for one. I will.
Don't know. All right, thank you. Any other questions of Dr. Van regarding Indian education or Graduation Alliance? If not, thank you, Dr. Van. Ms. Peterson?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am super excited for the privilege to honor our 2024 Clinton City Schools retirees. We have a special presentation that denotes their monumental accomplishments of a total of 388 years of service. So we had a lot of retirees this year. So without further ado, here is the video of their accomplishments. I would like to thank Miss Amy Ruiz and also our very own Miss Nicole Hayes. You can see the touches that she always places on our presentations. The next presentation, I would like to recognize our 2024-25 Teachers of the Year and our Principal of the Year. And we are extremely excited about all the great things and initiatives that they will do this coming year. And we would like to highlight our new leaders with this presentation.
Did it loop?
Congratulations to all of our Teacher of the Years, and I believe we have our Principal of the Year for 24-25 here with us. And I will conclude with this announcement. I can't say much about it, but I really would love for you to put this on your calendar. We are pleased to announce a special celebration that will take place at Clinton High School on July the 8th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. So please mark your calendar. More details to come. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. I looked on my agenda. I thought, let's celebrate. I wonder what that's all about. That was great. And 388 years is a long time, right? To devote to children. And again, I'll apologize at the beginning of the meeting, and I'll say it again that we weren't able to attend the celebration, but that doesn't lessen the value that we put on the work that you've done for our students and our school district, and we do appreciate that. And retirement's a good thing. You just gotta learn the definition and do it. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I feel like I've already presented, but we'll go right back into it again. Got to get on that Dr. Molina. She's going to have to be here next time. I actually thought that I wouldn't have very much good news this time, but as we always do in Clinton City Schools, we always have a absolute, just a great amount of good news. The one thing that is on a little bit of a summer hiatus is our review of shout outs from the weekly CNI memos. So we do not do weekly CNI memos in the summer, so they're on a summer hiatus. So we'll just move right forward. And again, seems like this is just the talk of the town tonight. But as we just watched the video from our wonderful team that put that together, a huge congratulations and special thanks to all of our educators and staff members who were recognized and celebrated as retirees at our annual retirement ceremony held on Thursday, May 30th. Unfortunately, we were unable to be with you that night, but we do want you to know how just a job well done, how much we're going to miss you all. As Dr. B has already mentioned, we're already working with several of you to figure out when we can get you back. Some of you retired earlier in the year and are already back. And so we're super excited and look forward to your retirement. We look forward to what you're going to do as you continue to grow and to learn more about what retirement looks like Dr. B was saying. But again, heartfelt congratulations from me, your superintendent for the last 6 years. A big shout out to the Clinton City Schools 24-25 school level teachers of the year and beginning teachers of the year. We just saw those a few minutes ago as well. And also to our new principal of the year. We're excited about that. And we know that there's going to be a strong showing from our finalists who will now move on to compete at the regional level this fall. And we wish all of them, I think it was Sandra Kennedy, Rebecca Bird, and Dr. Nicole Carroll are our finalists, and we wish them all the best as they move forward to the regional level. Huge congratulations to Miss Bailey Waters and Mr. Ryan Freeman, who were recently selected to represent Clinton High School as the 2024-25 Moorhead Kane School nominees. We know they're going to do great and big and wonderful things. We have one of our the individuals that won last year, Sophia Fleury Mendible. She is actually on an excursion right now that is part of the Moorhead Kane School nominee, and she is in Alaska. For about 3 weeks. My family thought 8 days was bad to be a part of the Simple Gifts. But Sophia is going to be gone for 21 days. But we wish her much success. We know she's going to do great things there in Alaska and when she moves forward to UNC Chapel Hill. Another shout out, John, if you'll click on that picture, shout out to Miss Caroline Holland and Mr. Jackson Lowe. They were recently selected as 2 of the 5-star scholarship recipients. They're in kind of the center in the bottom left. You can see Caroline and Jackson. They were selected as 2 of the 5-star scholarship winners. And Caroline will be attending Campbell University, and Jackson is headed to be a Seahawk at UNCW. So excited for them. Congratulations to them as well. 2 other seniors to congratulate are Miss Evan Johnson and Mr. Camden Davis. They were recently selected as 2 of the 7 Clinton Sampson Rotary Club scholarship recipients. Evan will be attending Presbyterian College and Camden will be attending Sampson Community College. So congratulations to them as well. Our Dark Horse Fellows and their sponsors and Mr. Lowe all recently participated in a field trip and learning experience May 30th and June 1st. They attended NCAT at Ocracoke, Elizabeth City State University, and several Outer Banks sites. John, click on those photos, and John was able to capture these and put these. I like the way John captured these. John, anything you want to say about these photos?
I can while they're coming into view. They actually did not get to go to NCAT at Ocracoke because they were doing some remodeling at the center, but they did. This first picture right here on the left is at College of the Albemarle, where they met with the CFNC coordinator there. They were able to do a behind the scenes tour with the educational staff at the aquarium on Roanoke Island, and there's a couple of pictures from that. Here they are at the touch tanks. They also were able to go to Jeanette's Pier, which is part of the aquarium facilities now, and they had a session on microbes. You can see them looking. They did a drag from the seawater, and we're looking at some of the microbes. Here is our CFNC coordinator at COA. Actually, this first picture, I'm incorrect. That was Elizabeth City State University, where they met with the College of Education staff and toured the College of Education at Elizabeth City State. They did something that my family has done for years, which is called ghost crabbing, one of the evenings, and they're out on the beach. You can see them all with their flashlights, and they had nets, or they used their hands and scooped up crabs, and Miss Lowe made it into a contest, and I think the winners won a stuffed crab that she had, but they had a great time doing that. So it was an interesting experience for many of them because they had not ever been, any of them, to the Outer Banks. And then they finished up on the return trip. They visited the Wright Brothers Memorial and the site there. And a lot of them they didn't really put it together until some of them partially into the visit. They're like, wait, it all happened right here. We're like, yes, that's one of the reasons we chose this as a spot to visit. And then that was a great realization for them. But it also set them up to learn about opportunities that they could take advantage of for their future students. Because a lot of these, like Wright Brothers Memorial, it's free during the school year to any school group. All you have to do is get an official notice from the school group. The aquarium, if you're Title I, which all of our schools are designated, it's a greatly reduced cost or free. So they learned about a lot of those options, and being on the campuses of College of the Albemarle and Elizabeth City State University is great experience for them as well.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe, for adding that insight there. And Mr. Lowe did not show this picture, but I asked him to do this for me, and he did. So when he was in Manteo, he took a picture of wearing a Dark Horse shirt. And because, we've been to Manteo the last couple of years to play soccer, both men and women, and they beat us on our home field, but we beat them on their home field, men and women. So I asked him when he was in Manteo to send me a shirt with him wearing a picture, him wearing a Clinton shirt, and he did there in Manteo. So I was excited about that. Dr. Van already mentioned the ceremony that was at the Tribal Center, but I've got this great picture I think that Miss Peterson sent me. And so I did want to show that. That was on Friday, June 7th. I was actually taking my child to be a part of that outdoor experience. And so I wasn't able to get back in time, but Dr. Van, Pastor Russ, and Ms. Peterson handled that for me, and you can see that great picture there. We've talked a lot about AVID, so John, if you just click on these 3 pictures, we'll just kind of go on, but I did want to show these pictures so that you can know that we were learning there. We weren't just, this is a picture that somebody took as like a screenshot when we were there in the big conference that they have, and they actually had to have 2 different conference seminars because there were so many people there that we actually we had to be bussed every day. Me and Dr. Faison, not Dr. Carroll, she got to stay at the other place, but we had to be bussed about 40 minutes to the Hyatt, and they got to stay at the Ritz Carlton and the JW Marriott. They were learning. Here's a picture of the Sunset Group. They actually, the second day, they kind of split up from the middle school, and they went out into the lobby area, and they were doing their psych team visit that day there. And then they've got one more picture, John, where it says AVID Learning. I think that maybe this is Dr. Harding's photo. She was in a separate session by herself, and you can see the work that their team was working on. And so it's a lot of work. You're pretty much busy from 7:30 to 5:30, 5 o'clock each day. But we had a good time, and we look forward to continuing these opportunities in the future. Let's see what's next, John. I've kind of lost track there. Friday, May 31st, I want to, we with the Coharie Tribal Center, we were able to take a kayaking leadership experience, and there's some pictures here. I actually reached out to Pastor Russ today, and he was able to get me some good photos of the day that we were there. And you can see there were several members of my team, Pastor Russ and members of his family. We had members that were guides of the Coharie Tribal Center. Had a great time. There's a couple more pictures, John, if you'll click out of that. The one that says second photo, that's a really good photo of our team there as well. The water, it's probably about a 2-hour trip, Pastor Russ. Had a great time participating. And then you've just got one of when we first got in, me and Pastor Russ, Deja actually sent this photo to Pastor Russ, and we're just kind of chilling there, me and Pastor Russ. And Pastor Russ brought him a fishing rod, and he was actually fishing and kind of hanging back. He did hook him one. And we had a good time that day, and we're looking forward to future experiences. We want to take they do a couple of other ones, and we want to take a little longer one next time. But Dr. Van went with me. We had Miss Danielle Strickland. We had a good little team. and Natasha also went with us. Charnay. We had a good little team. We enjoyed it, and we look forward to future excursions as well. I wanted to shout out Miss Emily Devane, who's here with us tonight. This is the email that we recently received, but she has completed all steps, and now she is officially a certified North Carolina school finance officer. So great job to Miss Devane, and we're looking forward to her continued work. She's really busy right now. If y'all don't know anything about the end of the school year, just know that she's really busy finalizing everything. And I think I saw her come out of her closet, or when I say it's her closet, her office, this afternoon for a few minutes right before this meeting. But she's really working hard. John, if you'll click on that. Got a special call while I was down at Abbott or sometime last week to let us know that Clinton City Schools had received a $1,000. I was hoping it was going to be a check, but it is a check that was a big check like that, but it's going to be a PRC code, and we're going to receive $1,000 to send send teachers to the AIM conference. The AIM conference is the big DPI conference they do in like October of each year. And so Julie Pittman, who is the special advisor to the state superintendent, and then I believe y'all know the other lady on the left there, Dr. Kelly Batts, they came today. That's why it looks like I have the same shirt and pants on, because I did, because it was today. And we took the photo there. So we'll be receiving $1,000 for our teachers to go to AIM. And this was for our high participation rate on the teaching working condition survey. So we want to thank our teachers for their work to get that survey filled out, and our leaders as well. So appreciate them coming out and taking that picture with us. Recently, on Friday, the June 14th, I was a guest panelist. I found this on the website for UNCW. I was a panelist and got to participate in Eggs and Issues. Dr. Molinas drove me down there that morning while I studied and tried to be prepared for the questions that we're going to ask. Actually, Dr. B was able to come down because she was down at Wrightsville Beach for the NC SBA conference. And I think it did a pretty good job. Represented the Dark Horse as well, but you can see that photo there, and I thought that was great. Congratulations to two senior soccer players, Miss Evan Johnson and Miss Kenzie Yang. They were recently found out that they were recipients of, you got to click on 2A, John, public 2A. There were 24 young ladies selected to represent the state of North Carolina as all state selections. Kenzie and Evan were selected. Kenzie got to participate in the luncheon that was held at, I think it was at West Guilford High School. Evan was unable because she was she was in the wilderness. But congratulations to Evan and Kenzie for their selection. And then a huge shout out. I found this out this past weekend. I don't know how many of y'all know about the Wells Fargo Cup, but the Wells Fargo Cup is the North Carolina High School Athletic Association's big award for all of the sports per division, 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A. They select the top 10 finalists each year for the teams that scored the most points for like the sports and how they perform throughout the school year. And you can see right here that Clinton High School finished 9th in 2A, but the schools that you see finish like 1st and 2nd, they probably have a lot more sports than we do. So like I know Seaforth has men's and women's lacrosse. I know that Seaforth has winter track. So we don't have any of those sports. And so you get points, how you do on all those sports. So for us to finish 9th, I think was a pretty lofty accomplishment. So I wanted to celebrate. What I said here was celebrate our student athletes, parents, coaches, athletic administrators, school level staff, district level staff, family members, community members, and fans of Clinton High School for another fabulous year of Dark Horse athletics. That's my good news, and we'll roll on to my letters of acknowledgement. I actually missed these a couple of times just because we kind of ran out of time or we were kind of in a hurry. But I do like to read these because these are messages that come to my office, but a lot of times are thank you to the board members as well. So this is from Miss Virginia Allen, and it says, "Dear Clinton City Schools, thank you so much for the lantern that you sent me in remembrance of my dad. It is nice to work in a community of educators who care about each other. Thank you again, Virginia Allen." And I always like to read these because unfortunately, these are a lot of times when somebody loses a close family member, but for them to take the time out to send these, I want to always make sure that I read them to you. This one's a little newer or more recent. This is from May 23rd, and it says, "Dear Clinton City Schools, thank you for remembering me during the passing of my mother. The lantern with the flickering candle was directly in front of me during the funeral, and it provided me with a sense of hope. The burning candle reminded me that God's light will always be shining upon me. Over the past 6 years, taking care of my parents was my second full-time job, and now losing them both in a 6-month span has been difficult. However, the support from Clinton City Schools, CHS, and friends has made the tough times a little easier. Again, I really appreciate your kindness during this time. Sincerely, Venetia Mann." This next one is from Wendy Locklear, Indian Education, and it says, "Thank you. Thank you for all that you do for all the students of Clinton City Schools. I truly appreciate each and every one of you." Miss Wendy Locklear, Indian Education. And then our last one for this evening says, "Your kindness is appreciated so much." And then it says, "There are not enough words to express our gratitude for the love and support you have shown our family during our time of loss. Deepest appreciations will forever be remembered by the family of Tamika Hooks Fryer Rich." And again, I just like reading these to you all because, again, it helps me to think about the individual that lost someone. It gives them, it gives me a sense to celebrate, not celebrate the loss, but celebrate the life of the person that was lost. And I always want to do a good job of reading those to you. So we appreciate you taking the time out to listen to those as well. We do have an e-card as well from Miss Alondra Williams, John. Oh, maybe it didn't. See if it'll pull up on mine. If you're not able to pull it up. This says, this is from Miss Alondra Williams, and we just celebrated Miss Alondra because she just retired. But it says, "Thanks for being there for me and showing me love." Inspired by 1 Peter 4:8. And the personal message from Alondra says, "If possible, please share this expression of thanks and appreciation on behalf of my family and myself during our time of bereavement. To my Clinton City Schools family, I'm so grateful for my Dark Horse family for every prayer, expression of love, and message of condolences extended in the passing of my sister." And I believe Alondra just lost someone else in her family, her mother-in-law. "She loved the Lord and is at home with him now. Please continue to keep us in your thoughts and prayers. Once a dark horse, always a dark horse. God bless you all, Miss Alondra Williams." So again, to those family members and to our employees and to our retired employees, we say, our heartfelt condolences go out to you in the loss of your family members. Some other items of news to discuss. I know that we've talked about ESS, but there are new temporary employee service contract. The onboarding process has started. We're kind of working with Ms. Peterson, a little bit of work with me as well. They've been at the central office several times. They're going to start being there every Thursday. I believe we're having interviews for the site manager next week. So that process is rolling forward. Just wanted to let you know that we're kind of moving forward with that process. Kind of started a little slow, but I think it's going to kind of pick up a little bit now.
I got a question.
Yeah.
If a sub, do they have to go with them, or can they stay with this?
Yeah.
But if we have a employee that may not need benefits because they're a retired teacher,
Yeah.
They're still going to get the same amount. That's not going to change. It's just their check is going to come from ESS instead of us.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't have my mic on. There's so many reasons why that needs to happen. Number one, they can become eligible the day they retire. Like, they don't have to sit out.
They're gonna sit out 6 months.
No, because it's a different company. So ESS is not, they're not a state agency. And then again, like you said, they may not need the benefits, but they offer like a whole lot of extra things. Like they do like double pay Fridays. They'll,
Dr. J, check your mic. Is it?
it's red.
Okay.
I don't know, John. Testing.
Yeah, it's picking up.
But there's a lot of different things that they are able to offer that we can't offer. And so we feel that, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't want to be a part.
Okay. Okay.
Ms.
My
Carol?
question is, you just talked about the site manager. So are we involved? Do we have any input as to who that site manager? Are we hiring them? Are they hiring them? What's a partnership? Talk to us a little bit about that, please.
It's a partnership. They have started the wide interview scope. And so they have narrowed it down to, I think, about 4 that they feel really good about. Dr. Johnson is going to be in that process, and we'll be making the decision along with the ESS of who will be here on site 5 days a week for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. So we're excited. Again, it's been a little slow. Again, we're just kind of, in any new partnership, you kind of got to fill each other out a little bit, and everybody's got to understand where they kind of line up, and there's got to be a little give and take, and maybe on both sides there hasn't been enough give and take, but I think we've got it moved forward now, and we're excited about the movement and what's going to happen as we continue to roll forward.
I read an article that Cumberland County Schools has just partnered with them as well.
Yeah, saw that too. So I think it's going to be a good thing. This is somewhat of a change, and so I want to make sure that I put it in words. And there were several reasons why we felt that this was a necessity. But since CCS Central Office Administration is planning a move to hourly wages for custodians and teacher assistants for the 24-25 school year, this puts us in line with our school cafeteria staff and bus drivers. And so the reason that we felt like we're really compelled to do this is it's going to assist us with paying employees for actual time work. It's going to alleviate staff members from earning massive amounts of comp time that we really didn't know what to do with, and help to keep staff with multiple job roles paid accurately from different pots of money. So basically what we often have is we have an individual who is a custodian and they're also a bus driver. They are a school cafeteria worker and they are a bus driver. And so a lot of times, I won't say seldom, a lot, they are leaving one job, jumping on another job, come back and making up time or making up their hours after school, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. So we felt that this is going to get us in line and is going to help us to not be earning these massive amounts of comp time that they can't take before the end of the school year. Comp time is not supposed to be carried over to the next school year. And then we're going to also make sure that they are paid for the hours that they work. Because what happens sometimes is with a teacher assistant, and Emily, help me out if I get this wrong, they are paid at like 89%. And so they're supposed to work with 6 point something hours per day. 7.15. Is that right, Ms. Peterson? Did I say that right? And then if they work 7.25, or if they work 7.01, there's just a lot of stuff going on. And so to keep us all in line, we're going to move to how we pay our school cafeteria and how we pay our bus drivers, and custodians and TAs will be paid on an hourly wage. And so when they go to sign in and when they go to sign out, the minutes they worked, the hours they worked, they'll be paid for those amount of hours. And you're not paying them on like a, whatever Ms. Peterson just said, 7.15 or 89%.
Now, they have to punch out as a TA and punch in as a bus driver, and punch out as a bus driver, punch back in as a TA.
Yes, but we're also, that's going to
So everything's will be
separate. And,
separated out.
yes, and being paid from the different pots of money. Questions about that?
Yeah, is that salary, how's it going, what's the metric for it? So if they're on salary now, is it going to be evenly equated to hourly wage?
So there will be no more salary. It'll
That's,
be,
I understand
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I
part.
understand that, but if they were making, if you take their salary, divide it by 52, and then divide it by 40, that hourly rate, is that going to be the same hourly rate that they're getting right now?
yes, and we actually think,
That's what I'm asking, is
Yeah.
it going to be the same?
yeah, and we actually think it's going to be better because again, they're going to be paid for every minute that they're in the building instead of 7.15. And if I stay 2 extra minutes, or if there was just a lot of stuff that was having to be done to make sure that, you know, you're out of the building exactly at this time. If you stay later, are you in trouble? I mean, there was just a whole lot of stuff that was having to be done. So just paying them hourly, which is what most other school systems do.
I'm
So do they
concerned.
know this? I mean, have you explained it to them and kind of shown them the advantages and disadvantages and
Or is this
all
the
these
first
things you
time?
just shared with
No,
us?
we've not had the conversation. We've not had the conversation with them.
I'm concerned about how, I'm thinking about how you were just explaining how they work in these dual roles. And I could be wrong. Clarify for me. These dual roles have different pay. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to the scenario that these two guys just said, whatever they were making on an annual basis, and you divide that by 52, divide that by 40, I don't know how you could make it if it comes out to be 16.25 an hour or whatever, because if they're a custodian part of the time or TA's part of the time riding a bus, it's not the same every week. It's not the same, or is it?
It is the same every week.
So whatever they're TAing and whenever I'm thinking about a particular custodian that does everything you ask them to do. You may go jump and ride a bus this week. You may have to drive a bus in the afternoon, may have to drive a bus. So it's not the same every week for that particular person.
But he's going to be paid. He's going to be paid for every job assignment that he has by that hourly rate.
By the hourly rate. That's
for that
equivalent
job.
to that position. Okay. I in my mind, I understand the logistics of it all and how from an administrative standpoint that it's going to relieve a lot. I can get that. In my mind, I'm concerned that it's going to work out good for the employees. And I'm just thinking that somehow this is going to, whereas if they ended the year at $50,000 a year, something's going to happen by the way they're working that they're going to come up short. They're going to come up.
And I think what I'm gathering, because I do payroll at work, and my salary employees, you know, some weeks it ain't good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Some weeks it's pretty good for them. But if you pay somebody by the hour, then if they've driven to 5 soccer games this week, then instead of getting paid for 2.5 soccer games, they're going to get paid for 5 now.
Yep, I follow that. And then my follow-up to it is, the overtime. When you were on salary, there wasn't an overtime issue, right? So if they're being paid hourly, will we run into an issue with overtime once they hit 40?
Overtime, No, they get paid for the hours they work, correct?
If they work more than 40 hours, because at that point they'll be 100% employed. So anytime they work more than 40 hours, they will still accrue comp time in lieu of
Overtime.
Right.
Not time and a half?
Comp time has to be time. Over 40 will be time.
Well, to me, overtime and comp time is two different things.
That's too.
This comp, yeah, that's not the same thing. If you're gonna comp my time, that means I'm not getting paid for it. You're just gonna let me off for the time that I worked. That's not the same thing as getting paid overtime. Overtime is time and a half.
Do we pay overtime?
We do pay overtime for hours over 40, but for salaried employees, it's comp time. So I misspoke.
Okay, so clarify, you say it all and tell me what's gonna happen with them now that they're going from salary to hourly.
They'll
Tell me what's
receive-
gonna happen.
They'll receive overtime for
Overtime
hours
pay.
worked over 40 hours.
They'll receive money instead of.
Comp time.
Sometimes, right. So, okay, I don't have a problem with it. I just want to understand that for somebody who works all day and then they're driving a bus 4 and 5 times a week, we're gonna run into overtime every week. That's what I'm envisioning. So am I misunderstanding what's
We're
going on?
already there, because if you drive a bus, you're already hourly.
Okay,
So that's already calculated as far as you're not salaried. So whatever hours you work on the bus, that's what you work and what we have to pay you.
mhm.
Now, if you're salaried, just like me, I work 80 hours a week. So I get my same 80 hours. I know at the end of the month what I'm going to get. It's not going to be any more. It's not going to be any less. It's going to be salaried. But now, if I work my 80 hours, then I'm hourly. So I'm going to have to be compensated for it. So, but there's going to have to be some guidelines put in place.
Yeah.
Because I might not be working to my full extent in order to get the overtime. So it's going to work out at the end. But the point is to try to get everybody on the same playing field. Because right now, my child nutrition, they're on hourly. So if they work over, over their 40 hours, then they're getting compensated for it. They're hourly. Same thing with a bus driver, but we don't have bus drivers that
Right.
is over.
Mhm.
But if I'm working 2 jobs because of the labor department, we're going to have to pay them overtime. So we're just trying to get everyone on the same playing field, because we got people that are classified that are in 2 different ball fields, if that makes
A
sense.
salary and an hourly is
Yeah,
what you're saying?
We got salaried folks that are classified, and then we got hourly folks that are classified, and they're looking like, well, why can't I be
Mm-hmm.
hourly? Now I'm working all these hours, or I'm not working. I know that she's not working the hours, but she's getting the same thing
That you're getting.
that
right,
I'm getting.
Right.
So it's just 2 different playing fields, and we're trying to get everyone on one accord.
That's what I was gonna say. She looked, that's the biggest issue. And you've got people that are on 2 different playing fields. So I'm salary. So I've got to make my 37 and a half hours per week. But I'm driving a bus 30 hours per week. So my bus time is interfering with my work time. So we're having to release these guys and girls to go get on the bus. Then they go get on the bus and they drive the bus. Then they've got to come back to the schools and finish their times.
I understand all of that.
But
Go ahead.
but
Go ahead.
you're coming back. There's no supervision. You see, because the principal is gone, the assistant principal's gone, and now I'm coming back and I've got to make up 4, 5, 6 hours. And so we've got people staying all through the nights, coming to work at 2 and 3 a.m., clocking in, logging in. I mean, all that's good, but it's messy.
Those are not my questions.
Yeah, I know, but
okay.
I'm just explaining it like a little bit further why this is an absolute necessity, and it's got to happen.
I'm not questioning why
Right.
whether it's a necessity or why it needs to happen. I just want to understand the impact that it's going to have on the employees.
Right.
And so in that particular scenario, somebody who works 30 hours normally at the school, 37 and a half hours. So now they're going to be 37 and a half hours on an hourly scale, on an hourly pay rate. Well, then we're going to pull them to drive the bus for 10 hours a week or longer, whatever it takes to run those rides. Right. So that means that's automatically, that's where I'm getting at. It's automatically 40, so how many ever hours overtime? 47 hours or 40, so it's going to automatically be overtime every week. Am I understanding that correctly?
I don't know, because the question I would have, and this would be a question for our attorney, is I still think those are two separate jobs. Now, we run into this all the time in this business, that people say that's not two separate jobs. I think being a custodian and being a bus driver is two separate jobs.
So don't look at overtime on either one, it's at 40 hours.
That, again, we're going to have clarification on that.
Either position.
But the bigger issue is that they were in two different pots, like Ms. Peterson was talking about, and you had salary employees that have an hourly requirement that they're having to meet, and then they're trying to be paid hourly, and they're in conflict with one another, and you're having to have employees get their 37 and a half, but also get their time on the bus, and it is really messy.
So basically, in a nutshell, if they work like that and they're two separate pots and they're two separate jobs, they're really still going to be on salary, just getting paid hourly because they're not getting any overtime.
Say it again, Russ.
They're basically going to be still on salary, but they're going to be being paid hourly because they're not going to gain the benefit of getting overtime because they're two separate jobs.
Because the bus driver custodial is another position. If they get 37 hours as a custodian, and they get 10 hours as a bus driver, they have to reach 40 hours yet, because they're in two different pots, two different pools. Is that correct?
Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Williams. The Department of Labor states, and I know that some school districts don't do it this way, but if you are employed with Clinton City Schools, it doesn't matter what you do, it still falls under Clinton City Schools and you're still an employee. So therefore, even if it's different jobs, you still work for us. So therefore, if I'm there's two different jobs. I am an IA and I'm also a bus driver. One job right now is salaried. That would be my IA job. The hourly job is the bus. So therefore, even when I go over 40 hours a week, then it's still the same, if that makes sense, because I have to go by the labor laws.
You mean under the new system or what we're currently doing?
What we're currently doing, it's either, it depends on what scale they're on. But most of the times what we try to do with the bus drivers is make sure that they don't go over the 40 plus hours a week. And if they do, now they receive comp time. Does that make sense? And then
but then they can't take the comp time. I mean, there's no time in the calendar in the month to take. Is that correct?
What we normally do and what I tell them, and I'm a firm believer of it, I wish I could get comp time. And the reason being is because my holidays, when we're out for Christmas, when we're out at spring break, I don't have to take my annual leave. So therefore I can retire earlier. And that's a great benefit for me. So all my days is like money in the bank. So therefore, comp time is important. They don't see it now, but it is important.
Comp time for days off, vacation, leave their annual leave, build up, so they can check out early.
That's right.
But if they're part-time employees, they don't get holidays and all those things anyway.
Well, they're not going to go over 40
Right.
if they're part-time.
My concern out of all this, and there are what, 3 or 4 or 5 of us asking questions, My concern is that the employees understand and can see the benefit. If we have these many unanswered questions and like, oh, what you just say? I don't get that. They're gonna have triple that many. So I'm not recommending some big meeting with all 100 of them. This needs to be individualized so they understand how it impacts themselves, not how it impacts everybody else. I can see your advantages, but I think if we have this many questions, they're gonna have triple as many. And it does impact their bottom line, what they take home and that type thing. That's my concern.
Yeah, I don't disagree that the meeting needs to be held, but we don't think it's gonna affect the bottom line at all.
Yeah, but they gotta understand that. They gotta understand that, not us. It's,
You put that
they
on-
gotta
Need
understand
to
that.
put that on paper.
Yeah.
And you need to show Jeremy's paycheck the way it has been and show Jeremy's paycheck the way it's going to be. And that bottom number, that net pay down there, it can't change, or it needs to go up, or you need to do some adding, subtracting, and some multiplication, and some division, and not just, we're going to change this and this is the way the new rules is going to be. You start playing with my money now, you're going to see a side of me you don't want to see. And there's a lot of people like that too.
And so that's the perspective that I'm coming from with the questions. I can hear it. I can hear and understand how it's beneficial to the district from an administrative standpoint. I completely understand all of that part, but I'm looking at it like if it was me. And while it all sounds good coming from the top, what's this gonna look like when I get my check next year? And what I'm hearing, just like Linda said, I know I'm asking a lot of questions, and if they're gonna ask 3 times more questions than I'm asking, y'all gonna be in there a long time. But because I saw that, Tone, I saw your expression over there. But because it's not registering with me. If it was me, how would it impact me? And that's why I was just driving home the questions of trying to understand how the overtime would work. And what you said about at the bottom line, they work for the district, and you were asking Rebecca, and she never jumped in and responded, I guess, because somebody else started talking too. So
yeah, sorry about that.
We're gonna let you talk in a minute, Rebecca. But
Okay.
that was my question. At the bottom line, they work for Clinton City Schools. I want to understand that we got them in different pots, and if they work for Clinton City and we're working them over 40 hours, shouldn't they be compensated for over the 40 hours, which would create a bigger issue in my mind because we didn't have all this overtime that we're paying. So I'm gonna stop. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Maybe a cost analysis comparison could help with that breakdown so that the individuals could actually see it.
Okay, I'll hop in for a quick second. Right. So if they're scheduled and required to work more than 8 hours a day or more than 40 hours in a work week, they have to be compensated for that extra time, no matter if it's a combination of jobs or what that is. So what you've been doing, it sounds like, is comp time, which is allowed. And it's also the other alternative is overtime. So I think that's what Ms. Peterson was getting at, and I might be wrong, but the way I was understanding is saying no matter what job they're doing, it's all under that umbrella of Clinton City Schools. So we're looking at their work through that lens of, are they hitting that 40 or are they required to work over 8 a day?
So then that feeds back into what I'm saying. So if we're looking at it comprehensively like that, then they're going to get 40 hours every week. If they got 30, what did you tell me in the classroom? 30, 28 something, 37 and a half in the classroom, and then 10 or 12 on the bus, they're going to end up with overtime every week. Am I understanding that correctly, Rebecca?
Right. So if they're going to be required to work more over 40 hours a week, then you're into either that comp time or overtime scenario. Exactly.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you're saying. What I would say to Miss Worley is not all of them are getting the 37 and a half in the classroom. There's a lot that's not. We're paying them for the 37 and a half.
Okay.
But they're not getting the 37 and a half. They're not getting close to the 37 and a half.
Okay.
If you see what I'm saying? So now we've got you on salary, but we're needing you on the bus. And you
Okay.
can't come back and be an instructional assistant.
With no instruction.
You can
Okay.
come back and be a custodian, but you can't come back and be a instructional assistant.
So is the salary no, excuse me, is the hourly wage comparable for the TA in the bus position? No. So well, I'll let you answer, but I don't think it is. Am I right?
Depends on years of experience as a TA, years of experience as
On
a
the
bus
bus.
driver.
Okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking if I make more in my TA role and it's time for that bus to roll, I'm not going to want to leave to go get on the bus, because then the bus is a lower rate than if I stay in the classroom. If I stay and do my primary job, which is a TA, and I'm making $19 an hour as a TA, but then it's time to go get on the bus. But then when I go get on the bus, I'm going back to $15.50. Why would I want to drive that bus in the afternoon? Are we going to have it? You following me? Am I?
Yeah, but it's the opposite for the most part. For the most part, they make more on the bus than they do in the classroom. So they're going to want to jump on the bus, which is what's happening. And so again, we're losing some required hours in the classroom because they're supposed to get the 89%, the 7.15, and not all, but some are not getting the 7.15, but they're getting paid
Okay.
for the 7.15. So in all actuality, we're overpaying because they're not working a lot. Some of them are not working the scheduled allotted time that they're supposed to be in the classroom.
Okay. And that makes sense. I'm understanding what you're saying. And with that notion, then back to you, Jeremy, what you were saying about having this, what my paycheck look like now, what it looks like then, it's not going to look the same, because now it's going to have a true reflection of what they're really doing. So if they're not really putting in that 37 hours in the classroom, but we've been compensating them for it anyway, and they're leaving to go get on the bus, well, you're not going to get compensated for this 37 hours in the classroom because you're not in there. So when you do this hourly thing, it's going to reflect what they're really doing. Am I understanding that correctly?
You're going to know that they were in the classroom only 3 hours instead of 7. Correct?
So what I think the answer to that question is, it's going to balance out. There's going to be some people that probably make a lot more. There's going to be some people that probably make a little less, because you're actually going to be compensated for your actual hours of work.
Dr. Johnson, can I intervene
Yes.
for a minute? I know for me, if the standard was for me to work 37 and a half hours, and I'm now hourly, I will be very cognizant of my timesheet. And so some adjustments that I could make that I haven't been putting as much effort in, I would now try to put the effort in. So I will make sure that I have the 37.5 hours per week. For example, I'm not saying that this is our employees, but for example, I could leave 10 minutes later and still crank my bus at the same time and not stop several places in order to get my time. I would just, for me, I would problem solve through it to make sure that I would get my 37 here and my 10 or 15 wherever. And if I'm needing in extra places, I would do that as well. So it would just put it in the forefront of my mind that, you know, this is important to my students, and it affects my bottom line as well.
So that has to do with time effort, though. that's more supervision. Like if I'm leaving early and taking a scenic route to get to the bus and whatever, that's supervision of the person who's in charge and instructional. I mean, that person who's in charge. But there's a difference between time and effort, right? So if you're just going to sit around to make sure your 37 and a half hours get clocked in, that's not working, in my opinion. You're just padding the clock. So that's another whole issue if that's what we're having, that people are not fully employed and doing their job for 37 and a half hours. And if it's going to vary, like I said, the bottom line is going to vary. That's why I'm highly encouraging that you have individual conversations with these people, because they're going to discuss, they're going to compare the checks or whatever it is, the timesheets or whatever. So if it's going to be an advantage for anyone, it should be the employee, but they should understand their own situation, not what's happening to all the TAs or IAs or all the bus drivers, because everybody's situation is different. It will keep the phone calls from coming.
Dr. B, I've been listening, hadn't really chimed in, but going back to an earlier point at the beginning of the board meeting, we kind of pride ourselves on transparency. I just wouldn't highly encourage, to your comment a minute ago, there needs to be a meeting with anybody that's going to fall in this hourly change category, and we owe it to them. If the meeting takes 5 hours to answer all their questions, there needs to be a meeting, and there doesn't need to be any confusion when the meeting's over.
Agreed. Any other comments or questions about moving to the hourly wage? Is that, are you planning to do this by July 1 or August 1? Do you have a effective date?
Well, it's just a few, it would just be a few employees that are affected in July, but we're moving to it in July 1, and we'll have that conversation with those individuals and groups that you all have noted prior to the July paycheck, and we'll do it early on in the month so that they'll be aware. But again, we think that it's going to be very similar to the checks that they've been receiving in the past, because like Ms. Peterson said, you know, you're going to be cognizant to get your required time in, we believe. And so again, we think that the checks are going to be very, very comparable. There shouldn't be a lot or really, you know, any reduction.
Okay. You got another item, some other items?
Oh yeah, I got plenty of items.
Okay.
So the business rules have not been applied to the accountability results. So we're going to wait until the business rules have been applied before we share the accountability information with you. We'll share that with you either in the July board meeting and or the July retreat. So just wanted to share that highlight with you. They've already seen that key memo, John. They know when that's set to come out. Also, with the teacher working condition survey, I had this on there last time. Please continue to review. I recently received some additional information from DPI. I want to comb through that kind of compares our district to surrounding districts and like-minded, districts that are district-alike districts. So I want to make sure I look at that before I share those results with you all. But we'll continue to look through those. We'll have further discussion in either the July retreat or the July board meeting. The attendance bonus update, John, if you'll click on that. Might have to blow it up a little bit. I tried to make it big enough for everybody can see it. We've had now 3 semesters of our attendance bonus update where we're paying the $500 attendance bonus to all staff, classified or certified, school days per semester. The spring semester, we had 242. That's the far right, the far right semester is where John's at now. We had 242 that qualified for it. You can see where it says number received bonus, 242. That compared to 252 in the fall, but 240 last spring. The cost to the district for this semester was $160,531 for those 242 individuals who received the $500 bonus. They were paid that today. They got that money for their attendance. The cost for this school year, for the 2023-24 school year, for the 242 from the spring and the 252 from the fall, was a total of $327,695.20. And the total for the 3 semesters, and that's what John was showing you at the bottom there, the total for the 3 semesters is $486,275.20 for the attendance bonus.
What is this done as far as the attendance beforehand compared to the attendance now? Do we know those numbers?
Yes, I have that in my stuff. John, if you'll click it, well, you can see it there. So there were 240 that got the bonus last year.
I'm talking about before we started this.
Oh, no. Well,
I'm talking about before we started. Before we started giving money to people to say, thank you for coming to school every day and doing your job. What was the attendance like before that? Do we not know?
Could we get that information, Ms. Pierce? We can. We can have the information for you at the retreat.
Let's
for the
compare it.
July
That'll be
board
fine.
meeting.
And my follow-up question to that, I wanted to know that, but I also would like to know, we have 240, 242 that's participating and that's coming to receive the bonus out of how many? Okay.
About half, I think. Ain't that about right?
Yeah, and the number, and I guess that's what I'm trying to portray here. The number is similar across all 3 semesters. You got 240, 252, 242. So we have, as a cabinet, we've talked about several different things. Do we continue to offer the attendance bonus? Do we look at our teacher supplement and our classified supplement? And do we just address those?
If you don't come to school, you should get the benefit of somebody that comes to school every day.
What I would like to know.
That's a selective thinking.
My question, my next follow-up would be, out of the 242, 252, the ones that are participating, I'd like to know the number of teachers or TAs or the ones who are in the classroom, because that was the big issue when we started talking about this, is having the teachers in the classroom. So I would like to know, when we do get together with retreat or whenever you guys want to provide the follow-up information for us, that how's it affecting the classroom? How's it affecting instruction time?
You get that, Ms. Peters?
And as far as doing a blanket increase to everybody's supplement to get rid of this, well, the blanket increase is if you come to work, you get a bonus.
Right.
I don't think we need to throw this in the trash and then give everybody an increase in their supplement, because the people that come to work every day, that is an increase.
Right.
If you don't come to work, you don't get an increase.
And so what I would, and I agree with you, Mr. Edgerton, but what I would share with you, and I think I'm going to share this correct, if I don't, Ms. Devane can fix it. This has been paid with ESSER money. Is that correct? So we don't have any more ESSER money. You can see what it's cost the district for 3 semesters. Nearly $500,000.
Where's supplement money come from?
Supplement money comes, well, there's a big change to that too. We can address that, but there's a percentage that has to come from local. That's 55%. Is that correct?
5.52.
5.52%. And so that has to come from local. And so again, we just need to talk about, again, maybe at the retreat, July board meeting, if this is something that we feel like that, number one, we can continue, $500,000. Well, for the year, it was $327.69 $327,695.20. Or are there some other things that we can offer and change? So
If the, hang on, I'll ask that question later. Never mind. Let me think on that. I'll ask that question again.
and I agree with Ms. Worley's question. How is it affecting instruction? Are the staff, you can see to me, it's fairly, I would say, I'd use the word stagnant. I mean, 240, 252, 242. Another question that I would have, is it the same people?
Some of them are repeaters. Yeah. A lot of them are repeaters.
So this, if it is the same group of people, then there's a whole a segment that this $500 is not impacting, and if that it's not motivating them to come. And what I want to know is back to the instruction. How is it impacting instruction? And if it's not really having that much impact on instruction, then do we need to be creative in doing something else to try to increase the seat time? Well, not the seat time, but the time for those, the instruction time for the staff, the teachers, and the IAs.
I think we need to keep in mind, though, that there are several variables that could impact instruction, and that this would just be, oh, John, I think I tore something up. It would just be one of those variables, but I would also like to see the repeaters and those people and look at those attendance, the attendance of those people before this. They were probably coming to school anyway before this. But if the numbers, and we talked, I think it was in Greensboro, that the attendance was horrible at that time. We just couldn't get people back. It was right after the pandemic, and they were just used to not coming to school or coming 2 days a week or 3 days a week or whatever that was. So it'll be interesting to see how many of them are repeaters, as well as how it's impacting, or is it impacting instruction? But if I do think if they're not in school, it negatively impacts instruction. We might can't show a big gain because they are here, but I think we can show a big loss if they're not.
Well, to put it into context, no matter what you make, $1,000 is important. And $1,000, to Mr. Edgerton's point, to come to work and do your job is good. And when we give you $500 a semester for the year, that's $1,000. If you miss less, I mean, put that in context. If you miss less than 9 days in a year, I probably haven't missed 9 days in 6 years. I mean, as your superintendent, I mean, I can miss 9 days of student days and still earned $1,000. That's pretty good. I agree with you, Dr. B. That's pretty good. That's 1 day a month, pretty much. So again, just wanted to share that with you. We can get that additional information. I saw Ms. Peterson making some notes. So Ms. Peterson will work on getting that information for the retreat or the July board meeting. The county budget slide, we shared that with you last time. What basically we were going to be getting from the county. I just wanted to let you know that is unofficial. It's still, I don't know that it's been formally voted on. But just want to let you know it's unofficial at this time, and we will wait for the official word to see if we will receive the $442,800 from capital outlay and the per pupil allotment, which is also a little bit higher as well. I threw in a couple of articles that we've been talking about in cabinet from the House budget and the Senate budget down in item 21. Just know that there are big differences between the House budget and the Senate budget. So much now that I'm hearing that there's an impasse and that likely there's an article from the AP here that you can read that North Carolina legislators are likely headed home and may not be back to September or October. The House wants to give increases to public school employees, wants to reinstate master's pay. wholeheartedly believe that teachers and staff members who earn master's degrees should be paid more. And the House wants to reinstate that. They want to give additional raises to public school employees. And the Senate says, nope, we're not doing that. We're only going to fund opportunity scholarships for the middle class and the rich. Fully fund, yes. So that's the big difference between the House and the Senate. They both fund opportunity scholarships, but the House wants to give additional raises to public school employees and to reinstate master's pay. And the Senate is like, absolutely not. And so we're probably going home, and we'll wait and see what happens with that. If they do go home, remember there was a biennium budget that was approved last year. So the new raises, which were supposed to be a 3% raise on average, John and I always laugh about this because we both have wives that are getting, higher up in the tier. They never receive a 3% raise. They get like a $20 raise. But on average, it is a 3% raise for employees for this coming school year. So if they go home, what was put in place as law in the biennium budget would come to fruition beginning July 1. And it would be a on average 3% raise for public school employees. So I wanted to share that with you. We've already talked about the Parents Guide to Student Achievement. Let's see what else we got. This was kind of, I've shared this before, but this was a recent article. Just know that if you attend public schools in North Carolina, that if you are a student athlete, you cannot benefit from your name, your image, or your likeness, but you can go to a private school and you can earn all the money you want as your name, image, and likeness. So that's kind of interesting to me, but I just put that up there. We're getting ready to roll into the 24-25 school year. If you didn't know that, we're getting ready to roll into it. Family ID opens for all of our student athletes on July 1. We are strongly encouraging them to have that completed by Sunday, July 7th. I have all of your well, not all of your schedules. I have your fall schedules up there for middle school and high school. Men's and women's cross country, JV and varsity football, JV and varsity men's soccer, varsity women's tennis, JV and varsity volleyball, middle school football, middle school men's soccer, and women's volleyball. All of the dates are up there for you for your perusal. John, if you'll move to that approved school calendar a little bit further down. As you guys know, we have an approved school calendar for the 24-25 school year. It is slightly ahead of the approved or what is the state approved calendar. It's about 2 weeks ahead. There are actually 25 school districts in North Carolina that have adopted what they call an early start calendar to better align with their community colleges and to have equal. Ours has the exact same number of days, first semester and second semester, which is a big thing for me, being a former high school person and last year I had 2 high school kids. But I'm meeting in Asheville on Thursday with but a huge chunk of those 25 school districts to just talk about the plan. But from the initial conversations with those individuals, almost all of them have no plans to change their school calendar for next year. It's been approved. The local, it was approved. I mean, our teachers voted on it. You guys approved it. Let's push forward.
Carteret may be making a change start Friday
They may.
because they have a judge's ruling.
An appeal. Gotcha.
Can we click on it just a minute? I was looking at it,
Sure.
the calendar, and as far as the community college schedule, and that was our purpose for kind of trying to align ourselves. And I was thinking that they were starting a week later.
They
Are
do.
we okay?
Yep. They start on the 19th. We start on the 12th so that our semesters, John, if you'll go where it says Q1, Q2, Q3, if you'll notice right there, our semesters and our quarters
all the same.
are all the exact same.
Yeah, I like that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But when we were talking about aligning ourselves with the community college, then when I saw that the week was different, I wanted to just make sure that I was seeing that
You're seeing
correctly.
it correct, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. So our kids will come to school, get a little bit of adjustment time, and then they'll start that community college that very next week. And that was one of the reasons. The second reason was so that we would have those. In the past we've had these. You remember because you've had 3 now that went through the system. You had these crazy unbalanced semesters where semester 2 was actually like 20 days longer than semester 1, and depending on where your student was strongest at, if they got like my children, everybody knows this, they're not as strong in math. And if they got math first semester, they're getting like 20 less days of instruction than the individuals that have it in the second semester.
Yep.
Right, and take the same test. This fully aligns our semesters, and then we'll use the word pseudo, Ms. Carroll, pseudo aligns us to the community college calendar. And so that's why we all liked it and voted on it. But I've not heard, other than Carteret, who may have to change it because of a judge ruling, not because of local decision. They actually unanimously voted to appeal the judge's decision. But most individuals that I've talked to, well, all of them that I've talked to, say that they're going to continue with their early start calendar. And then I've just got a whole bunch of dates for you. Ms. Peterson has already noted the important event that's happening on July 8th, which is going to be our principal meet and greets at Clinton High School. And we've got a principal boot camp on there, all kinds of different things. New teacher, beginning teacher orientation, fall sports meetings, and then when convocations are, and all those important dates for you to put in your calendars. Questions?
Any questions of Dr. Johnson? He's given us a lot of information, a lot of dates, a lot of general statutes we have to think about. Any questions? If not, thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. We'll move on to the next section, which is Board of Ed items. Any comments from the board members about anything so far? If not, Mr. Lowe is showing you some professional development opportunities. And we did vote to renew our video subscription with the North Carolina School Board Association. I watched the video last night on the ethics trainings for those of us that were just reelected. That training is due, I guess, within a year of the reelection. So I've got mine done. Ms. Hayes sent out an email earlier this week with the login and passwords for that. Again, please check your calendar for retreat date. I've heard us mention that a couple of times a night. July 11th is out, but check for the afternoon of July 9th. And if that doesn't work for everybody, we'll look at additional dates for that. You have on the agenda the 2024-2025 meeting schedule, and I've been informed we need to vote on that schedule, even though there's a disclaimer at the end of the schedule that says that we might have to change it for various and sundry reasons. So I'll need you to take a moment and look at that schedule. Ms. Hayes has provided for us for next year's meetings, and I'll ask for someone to give us a vote. I'll ask for someone to give us a nomination to vote to accept this calendar for meetings.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Edgerton. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hales. All in favor, let it be known by the word aye. Aye. Thank you. We have adopted this meeting schedule knowing that there may be some changes based on other circumstances that may occur. Our next regular scheduled meeting is Tuesday, July 23rd at 4 o'clock here at the middle school. We will begin with the oath of office ceremony for the 3 of us that were reelected, and then we'll have reorganization and then the regular board meeting following the oath and a reorganization. All righty. At this time, I request a motion to enter closed session as allowed by GS 143, 31811, A3, and A6. Can I get a motion?
I make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Edgerton. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Worley. All in favor, let it be known by the word aye. Huh? Oh, yeah, we gonna have that. And the motion carries. After a 5-minute recess, we will reconvene in the conference room over there and for our closed session. Thank you all. Thank the principals and for joining us today. 5-minute recess. Thank you.
When did that go live? Samson Independent, I think brought those today. Cabinet, would y'all like one? I got plenty of those.
Sure, I will take one.
Y'all want one, grab one. They're right there. Absolutely. It's got all the schools in there. You can just tear them pages out. That's Rose in there, I believe. Oh.